That's good stuff. There you go, Sparty Nation. Wife made some of these delicious Russian cookies again. Man, it's so good. We got a lot of work today, so we're gonna need some of these little treats. Gotta get that morning going. Hello everyone. If you're new to the channel, please go ahead and consider hitting that subscribe button. You don't want to miss any of the build going on with this beautiful 91 Z28. I'm going to make her faster, meaner, and retain that kind of factory appearance. We're not going to go crazy with a lot of stuff on here, but we're just going to tune in what the factory couldn't have done back in 91 with brakes, engine, suspension, stuff like that. So anyhow, today's project is what I've been talking about for a while. The big brake upgrade. The brakes are finally here, and I'm ready to put them in. Those of you who remember a while back, I had a box of springs to change the pressure to proportioning valve, and this was going to be the perfect time to do it because I was going to have the brake system open. And typical fashion in my life, I can't find the dang things. They're like sprung out of here or something. They should have been here on the workbench. I don't know. This is just my luck all the damn time. And you know what happens? I'll order some new ones and then I'll find them. But I mean, they weren't expensive, but it's just a pain that I'm gonna have the system open and I cannot find them. So maybe I'll find them after a little bit. But I want to get started on these brakes before it gets too hot. Take advantage of this cool morning. So let me show you a little bit about this. So this is basically a double piston system off of a 93 and up Camaro. Basically what they do is they take the factory spindle and they modify it. They cut off a couple of the brackets. They have to tap it and they make their own bracket to accommodate this. Now the tricky part is this car here. Let me show you this. Your bearings, your lug nuts, and the whole rotor are originally all one piece. The problem is that you can't buy this entire system with a bigger brake already made to it. So what they have to do is basically mill the entire rotor off. And now this rotor here slides over what was the original rotor. If you can see here, move back over. See, here's your bearing. Here's where the lug nuts are. All this piece here. The rotor used to be right here. It used to come out. This whole piece here was actually part of that. This is what I was saying earlier, like when I do the brakes, how my wheel's going to get pushed out a little bit more because now this rotor sits on top of the old one, so it's kicking it out about that much. So we'll have to work with some smaller spacers and get this all dialed in. This is pretty much the basic kit. I could have went with a billet hub, which would have saved weight, but it was more money. I think they had different spindles. I can't remember. I did want to go with the 5th gen Camaro, the bigger Brembo brakes. They look really nice, but the brakes are like $360 a piece, so just almost $800 just for a pair of front calipers, and that was more money than I really want to spend. Plus, this matches what the back brakes look like, and I mean it's still a substantial upgrade to that tiny little single piston. That's the whole rotor's even smaller than my back brakes, so this is actually very similar to the back brakes size, so it's going to look nice and symmetrical. As you said, all the rotors will look the same and look pretty nice. The only upgrade that I did, I went with the Earl's braided lines. I figure I'm taking all this apart. This car is how old? May as well go ahead and replace the brake lines. I probably need to go ahead and check the back. I might have to do those somewhere in the future too, but figure while I had that, I might as well go ahead and upgrade that. So let's go ahead and get started on this, and hopefully I'll find the springs before this is all said and done. Oh, this sucks. I had the car jacked up, had the tire off. I started getting everything taken off, and then I realized that I don't have a socket large enough to take the bolts out of the strut assembly. I knew this was going to happen at some point in time. My selection of metric size stuff doesn't go as large as what I have for American size, which is really weird because there's almost nothing on the American size anymore, unless you're working on like an older car. Like my first car is a '69 Camaro. Probably why I have a lot of American size tools. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to go run the Harbor Freight, see if I can't get maybe an impact socket, because this thing's about like 23, 24 millimeter, and I just don't have anything that large. So this is going to be a big setback now to run into town. So it is what it is, but I need the parts. There's no way I can, the only thing I have is a small just wrench, and there's no way I'm busting that thing loose with something that tall. It's not happening. So I got the compressor charged up at air impact. We just need some sockets. Got my socket set here, and I decided to drive something a little special today. Oh yeah. Let's take a look, take a look, take a look. Figure I'm gonna be on vacation for a week, and I'm not even gonna see her for a little bit. May as well go out and take a little drive and enjoy this little Sunday afternoon. Alright, let's get back to the house, see if we can get this done. Look at the size difference between those two. Look at how much more rotor there is here. Look at how much bigger that is. So in typical fashion, I haven't worked on an A-arm suspension in quite a while. I haven't messed with ball joints and things like that. Wasn't even thinking about it. I know you could use a pickle fork right here and separate this. I don't like doing that because it tends to damage the rubber boot and then your whole ball joint shot. But I loosened the strut first and then had it swinging, and then didn't even think about how I was going to get that off of there. I should have loosened this first and let the spring pressure push it down. So I ended up messing up the threads on here. I put the crown nut on here and I hit it with a hammer and it bent. So now I'm going to have to go back to Harbor Freight and get a tap and die set, something I've been wanting to get for a while, but I actually haven't needed one for anything. So instead I improvised, used this puller, and was able to get it to break free. But oh my god, so this is just another headache. So another trip to Harbor Freight. So I started this little project about 10 in the morning. Ran into the first problem, needing a socket. Ran to Harbor Freight. Come back here, I can't get that off. I end up hitting the crown nut with a hammer, knocking it sideways. I get one tap and die set. It doesn't have the right thread count, so I had to go back and buy another one. In the meantime, my wife needed something, so I had to go the opposite direction to her work and then come all the way back to Harbor Freight. And now it's 5 o'clock and I'm still in the same position I have. I gotta fix the threads on that ball joint and the threads for that nut. I mean, I could just buy a new ball joint, but those are a pain to put in. You got to drill out the friggin' bolts or whatever, the rivets that hold those things in, and then bolt the new one. I don't want to do that. Hopefully this works. It's ridiculous. I should have been done by now. Here we go. Tap the bolt out. Hopefully that'll fix that. Now we got to get the die and run it over the ball joint. Alright, day 2, which should have been a one-day job. Unfortunately, when you work on cars, sometimes these things are unforeseen. There's always going to be something to give you a hassle. It just happened to be like, I finally got to that point where I needed a socket. There was just no way to bust these big bolts out of here without using the impact, and I just didn't have anything that would fit. So, and then I messed up with the friggin' bolt. Totally my fault, and it cost me 2 runs to Harbor Freight to get 2 different tap and die sets. The only tap and die sets I have are for like pipe fittings, so that's definitely not going to work for something with finer thread like this. But anyhow, on the good note, we did get this completely put in and done. This side is done. Lessons learned from this side now I can utilize on the other side. It should speed things up. And then there's a small bolt right here that holds the brake light on. I couldn't find it, so I took out my little magnet on wheels that I got at Harbor Freight. Pretty neat thing to have in case you lose something. I keep it right next to the workbench, and you know what was stuck to the bottom of it? My bag of springs. My freaking bag of springs. Heck yeah, so now I can go ahead and get everything done. So it shouldn't take as long. Yes, I mean seriously, like you have 2 bolts for the strut, 1 bolt for the ball joint, 1 bolt for the tie rod end, undo the brake line, one bolt for the brake line. I mean, it's not a whole lot to it. It should just pop off, but you are dealing with things that kind of are pressure fitted and stuff like that, so it does take a bit to get that out. But now that I know I can use that puller and how to put all this back in, like I said, the other side should go better. I know not to beat that thing with the hammer, and I have all the sockets. So the game plan is I'm going to do the other side. I'm going to get that done. Then I'm going to go to the back passenger side, because that's the furthest away from the master cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and throw the new pads on there, and then I'm going to start bleeding the brakes from there. Then I'll go to the other side. I'm going to do the pads, bleed it, come up here, bleed this, go there, bleed it. Then the entire system will have totally brand new fresh fluid. I made sure I didn't run into any problems with this. I went and bought a whole big friggin' gallon jug of brake fluid the other night at Walmart. So I'm gonna have completely brand new fluid to the entire system, and then we're gonna go ahead and do that valve or add the spring, and man, this thing should be rocking and rolling. So oh, before, I hate to keep this too long, I just wanted to explain these big brake kits. It comes like this, and everything is done actually for you if you buy it with the spindles. Well, how well you can see here, but see here where the brake piston is? Basically, like these arms, or one of these arms is cut off to make room for the bracket. And if you buy it with the spindles, they already cut them, they paint them really nice, they put on their bracket, and everything comes done. It comes like this. It's already got brand new wheel bearings. They're already packed, they're already torqued on here. The brake calipers are already tightened on here. It's literally just slip on. And also, I just want to show you, like here, you see this is all like one big piece. You see how this now, so basically this slides over this old rotor. And with this guy, that he doesn't use used rotors and that, because there's bearing races in here. He uses brand new rotors. He mills them down, and then makes it to where this now is just like a hub bearing. So this is the only thing that's behind here now, is just up to here. He mills down. You actually saw how close it was to the lug nuts yesterday. So they milled down this entire hat and everything off of here and just make a bearing. So pretty cool system. Like I said, it comes already done like this. And now all you have to do is just drop it in. Drop it in your ball joint, the 2 bolts for the strut, your and like I said, and it's done. It's pretty easy. So I didn't think this would take that long, but I said, and with damn cars, man, always gonna fight you. So hopefully I'll have this done in a short time, and we'll show you the finished product here shortly. Just wanted to show you what I was talking about. There's the ball joint, and what I have here is this 2-jaw puller. It's pushing down on the stud of the ball joint, and then the jaws are actually on the spindle itself, and this way I don't beat it with a hammer and damage the threads this time. Drastic difference from yesterday. I don't even think it took me an hour, and this is completely done. The Earl's brake lines are in, the strut bolts are on, tie rod, lower ball joint, everything. It's completely ready. Now it just needs to be bled, but like I said, I'm going to do the back brakes first, or actually I'm going to go ahead and do this spring in the front first. I'm going to drain the fluid out of the master cylinder, because we're going to replace that anyhow, and then bleed the back brakes, or replace the pads, bleed them, come up here to the front, bleed it, and then we should be done. It shouldn't take long, hopefully. Fingers crossed. You never know with these things. Sorry about the weird camera angle, but any further back the camera's in the sun and it blackens this stuff out. So here's the spring. It's going to go in right here. Let me show you real clear. So here's the here's the proportion. Here's the new spring. You can see it, like the little valve in there. So we put that in. This is so hard to hold. And then now the fun part is trying to fight the pressure to put that spring back in. So I'm going to put the camera down, because there's no way I'm going to do this one-handed. And then as you can see, we got this sucked out, and then this is another reason to drain it out. Look at all the dirt in there. So I'm going to go ahead and just take some rags and clean that out as well. So here's the system. It's a pressurized tank, and it goes through this cap, which I had severe problems with these little J-hooks leaking really bad. I read some reviews online and people said they used a C-clamp. Now my only problem is the only C-clamp I own is holding that, so I don't know what I'm going to do for the other back brake. But we come back here, and here is, oh look at that, the fluid's already turned clear. Wow, that was pretty fast actually. So yeah, this is how we're going to do all the brakes. Never ever have I ever approached a job I thought it would be so easy, turned so difficult. I said 2 bolts hold the thing to the strut, 1 down on the ball joint, 1 on the tie rod, take the brake line off, and the whole assembly just comes off. It should have been pretty easy, but nothing in my life ever seems to. Even the brake booster, the bleeder system wanted to fight me, just throwing brake fluid everywhere. I had brake fluid all underneath the car. I'm running in and out of the house with water trying to save the paint inside. I mean, man, what? Oh. And then I go to put the tire on here and realize I had the wrong tire. I had already put it on the back tire, so I had to switch them around. They're directional. They have to go on a certain way. And, oh, I mean, just, but the big red Camaro here is done. The big brakes are on. I'm going to go take her for a ride up and down the street here and burnish the brakes in. That's just like about 20 stops from 30 miles an hour to help seat the pads to the brakes. To the rotors, because they're all new pads, new rotors, so I'll share that on the next video. I said I'm going away for a week. We got vacation coming up. I really need to get going. I gotta get this garage clean, both cars put away. We got to go shopping and do some stuff, so that should be interesting because I'm going to bring the wife along, or she's taking me. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that, and make sure you subscribe because you want to see more of this car. So that's all I got, guys. Hopefully you enjoy this. Like I said, things are moving around with this car. Next stuff. Oh, before I go, I did put the wheel on, and my spacer went down to about something about like that, just a few millimeters that I'm going to need now for a spacer. I got the 1-inch on there right now, but that's just because I don't have any spacers, and I need to get the tires back on the car. But big improvement. I knew the new brakes would kick that wheel out. Didn't think it would kick it out that much, but that's nice. That's going to give me more room to go ahead and push that tire in and make it look right. So I will get some spacers, and then we'll do suspension work and all that from there. So again, everyone, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Really helps me grow the channel, helps YouTube recommend things, so do shares, comments, thumbs up, all that good stuff. So like I said, or I don't know if I said it, but we got the vacation coming up. I'm going to post another video for you Wednesday or Friday. I'm not going to do any vacation stuff because honestly it just doesn't seem to do very well on the channel. So I'm just going to go enjoy some time with the wife. But I do have some content for the next video, and I'll work on it a little bit and try to get it out. Yes, like I said, it'll be either Wednesday or Friday depending on how things go. I really got to get going because on stuff to get going. So again, thank you everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.